Hi, I'm Sam and I'm from the HealthBus.
Hi, I'm Rachel, a mental health nurse at HealthBus.
So little bit about my background. Ex-prison officer, worked with victims of modern slavery. I've worked for BCP as a mental health recovery worker, and now I'm with the HealthBus.
So my background is I worked as a mental health support worker for a long time, and then I did my training. Since doing my training, I've worked in addiction services for a long time. I've worked with as an addictions nurse with young people and families, and in a homeless service, and in open access mental health services.
So my role is the social prescriber, which is a fabulous role. Every day is completely different, and I love what I do.
So I work with clients around their mental health. Often what I do is, a lot of the work is very relational, so it's very much about building a very strong relationship as a base, and then trying to do some kind of therapeutic work around emotional management, and sometimes looking at other ways to manage trauma and deal with some of the mental health ways that people present, things like self-harm and suicide. So kind of do a lot of exploratory work around that to try and change it.
And my role is making sure people have access to skills and education, social activities, support and maintain their tenancies, building confidence, and hopefully that will lead to independent living. The types of clients I work with are people who've come through the homeless pathway. They are either in temporary accommodation or successfully living in their own accommodation.
Yeah, and the types of clients I would work with often are using substances, often have quite a lot of trauma. So I will see people, I do 1 day a week at the YMCA, so I see people there, and the other days I will see people, sometimes people will self-refer. Often I meet people through engaging with the HealthBus generally and kind of get my referrals that way. Sometimes I'll get referrals from other services. Most people are housed that I see, but in temporary accommodation, because often people will say that's when their mental health is worse. And other services often pick up people that are rough sleeping. I sometimes see people that are rough sleeping, but they tend to be people that have gone around that system. So I've seen them when they've been housed, they may have been evicted and gone back to rough sleeping, so I just keep that relationship going. And the things I like about the HealthBus most is being able to work in a creative way, really having the autonomy to work in a way which I feel works best, rather than being limited by time that you do in other services, or a reduced amount of time that you're able to see people, that kind of thing. I think a lot of our clients end up having lots and lots of workers over many years, and I think that continuation of that relationship is really, really important.
I absolutely agree with you, and I'm a big believer of a person-centred approach. It has to be what the client needs, what the client wants, or not what we think is best for them. A lot of my referrals are coming either directly from my colleagues working with the HealthBus. A lot of my referrals will also come from Rachel. Once she's been working with a client who's a bit more stable, then she'll refer them on to me for some social activities. I'm working with a young chap at the moment. He loves football, I love football, win-win. We go every week and play football for a couple of hours, which is brilliant. It's building his social skills up. He's got very low confidence and anxiety, but as time is progressing, he's building on that, and we're seeing the rewards of that. I get a lot of my referrals from BCP as well, and that's kind of how it works for me. But I'm happy to meet with anybody, have a conversation. If it fits, then we'll have a plan and we'll move forward, and we'll work together for as long as we need to.
And often we will work with clients as a whole team, where we'll do little bits. So clients will have a relationship with the HealthBus as a team. They might see Maggie and Chrissy for healthcare, see Sam for social prescribing, see myself for mental health. So often we will end up doing little bits with the same person. They have a relationship with us as a service, which works well, doesn't it?
And I think for the client, it's the consistency of having that team around them all the time.
Should we give an example of somebody that we've worked with? If we call him James.
Yes.
So he's, as an example, he was a person that when he first started attending at the HealthBus, he'd done a long prison sentence, and then he'd been rough sleeping for a couple of years after that, moved from town to town, didn't really engage more than superficially with services, was drinking a lot of alcohol. And he started coming to the HealthBus drop-in, so that was a time where everyone really kind of picked up on that and kind of made him feel very welcome. And then he was talking about his mental health. He was saying he was suicidal, he was self-harming, so I tried to see him around his mental health. It was very difficult for him to talk about anything more deeply, and we were able to use a different approach with him. I started taking him to an AA meeting so that we could talk about the things that came up in the meeting. We both did a little bit of that as well, didn't we, taking him there. And we've continued that journey with him and just altered it and moved it around as, you know, with what he needs at that time. And now he's in recovery. He's done a stint in rehab, and that's gone really, really well. And we continue that relationship with him. So he still phones us regularly, checks in with us, sometimes still comes and attends the drop-in to see us all. So that's just an example of the sort of client we may work with and how we can work in a bit of a different way, maybe.
And I would consider James to be a great success story. He's been on that journey with us, and he's incredibly grateful. If it hadn't been for us, he wouldn't be where he is today.